policy and actually moving forward with putting that together.
Thank you.
When you get a chance, yeah, that'd be great.
Thanks.
Take a look at it
In your
and
spare
revamp
time.
it. Yeah, and it's all the spare time you have. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
And the fire department requests for federal equipment.
Mr. Chairman, this is just the paperwork. I believe the fire chief had originally was looking at trying to acquire I think the original vehicle was a Dodge Durango
Yep.
that was, through the military surplus. The fire department has a distinct and specific program, not similar or to be confused with the one the law enforcement uses, because they deal more with the armored vehicles, the Humvees, all that stuff. Fire department has access to other vehicle types and vessels, all sorts of other things. So this program is specifically run and maintained through the fire service. And what they're looking to do is see if they can obtain one of these passenger vehicles. Because right now, when our personnel are going to training at the fire academy, things like that, the only vehicles that we have available right now, for most part, are the utilities, the larger vehicles that the department uses. This would be a cheap way to acquire a vehicle, a simple passenger vehicle that they can use for training and multi-purpose use within the fire service. It's not intended to be outfitted. It's not intended to be a response vehicle to fires or things of that nature. It's more intended for everyday use and abuse so that it stays off of our primary response vehicles.
I did speak to a couple of the members of the fire department about this, and that they said they did have like an old radio they could put in it, so at least they could, hear calls or something like that. But yeah, its primary use is to go to and from classes and all the conventions that they got to go to. Plus, it's a 4x4, so we'll be able to go in some places that utility can't go.
Is there a reason they don't take their personal vehicles and apply for mileage reimbursement?
They have done that. Not mileage reimbursement, but they are allowed to use their personal vehicles to go to calls. They are allowed to do that.
No, I mean to go to these
the class,
classes.
The class. I think from an insurance standpoint, this is probably a better option than them driving their personal vehicles.
It becomes a little bit cheaper because a lot of them go in groups. And if we provide them with a vehicle, we force them to come, they carpool. But if they all go from their houses and their personal vehicles, they're all putting in for mileage.
So you said that they can get this vehicle for cheap, but there's nothing in here that talks about
Price.
It doesn't.
No,
it doesn't
no,
cost
so,
anything.
so,
No,
so
this is
this,
shipping.
and I'm sorry, I should have clarified this at my
I
first
didn't see
statement.
anything in.
So what there is right now, this isn't a proposal for any specific vehicle. They were looking at this Durango, but it goes quick. They put it up nationwide and people, who belong to this program. The paperwork that's in front of you right now is the agreement to even belong to the program. But they haven't identified a vehicle, a purpose. They were hunting on, for that one when the discussion first came up, and it was gone before they could, get any information in front of the board. So what this will allow them to do is basically get to that point of finding a vehicle and operating within the program. But there would be a final approval coming back to the board for you to review what it is that they're looking at, what the mileage is, what the circumstances are with it. Really, the essence of the program is they have these vehicles that they're taking offline with the military and other agencies within the federal government. And they take them offline and they repurpose them. But as part of this program, when our use is done, like say you blow the motor in it, and the town's like, well, I'm not putting a new motor in this vehicle. All we have to do is the agreement, the essentials of the agreement is we turn it back in. We don't sell it, we don't make a profit off of it. We can't buy it, we can't take anything from the program because there's no cost to the town. We just have to reserve it, basically have to be the first ones to reserve that particular vehicle. It comes back, but the parameters of the program is that we agree that one, we're not gonna sell them outright and, try to make money off of surplus vehicles or whatever. We're gonna use them for the life or our need, the life of the need or the use, suitability for the town, and then we're agreeing to turn it back in and walk away from it.
So
The one that-
so the request is for the agreement for the federal equipment. And
Yeah,
it's just giving them the okay to go ahead and.
just to belong
yeah,
to the
To
program.
belong to this program. That's what
That's
this
it.
They
is.
use,
That's
they
what this
use
was.
this Ford F-150 as a, like, what it could be. So this particular truck has 27,000 miles on it. So it's still pretty fresh. And
Okay.
the only cost that will be incurred is the transportation to get it here. So it could be anywhere in the country, you know, where
Yeah,
they get the vehicle.
wherever they do get it, yeah.
But there's no, like, it spoke.
But
of,
for all
so-
intents and purposes, this is strictly the
Yeah,
permission
to get
slip
us in.
to get us in,
So they
to
could
allow
start
them to
looking
go
at
and look at it.
vehicle. Pick what they want.
So, yeah, because the example of an F-150 presented to us doesn't support the discussion about carpooling to classes.
Right.
That
with
that particular vehicle would fit 3, but they're trying to get an SUV that can obviously fit, you know, up to 5. Would be ideal.
Okay. So just so I understand, the proposal here is that we permit the fire department to join this group so that they
Yes.
can't bid or whatever, try to get their name in early
Yeah.
on a vehicle, but the actual acquisition of the vehicle would come back to this board for approval.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we would definitely see which vehicle it is prior to them getting it. Yes.
Okay, yep, thank you. I
Yeah,
didn't
no problem.
understand that.
Yeah, no, that was my
It
fault.
makes sense.
So we need to make a motion on that?
Yes.
All right, so I'll make a motion to allow the fire department to join the program to search for the federal surplus equipment, and to get their names in as needed to secure a vehicle and come back to the board for final approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys. Sorry about the confusion. That was my fault. All right, old business. Friends of Parks and Recreation fundraising feasibility / readiness study report.
Evening.
Evening.
Greetings.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I hope you all are well also. So this will be a short summary of the longer report that I think you have copies of. We're here certainly to entertain any questions you have about that report. I'm just going to summarize it really quickly. I don't think we've learned anything astoundingly new about the Alton community. It pretty much reflected past experiences, the master plan, other surveys, but we did get some specific information relative to the questions we were asking about parks and use of common lands. So our next steps are to take this and distribute it for the community, make it available for folks so they can see what we've done, to gather information. We're going to continue to talk to folks. We're actually re-interviewing some of our initial stakeholders, long-term community members, just to get a better understanding of some of the issues they raised. We're doing more community outreach. We're trying to generally increase awareness of all the parks and the trails in the area. It seems to be, and I think partly because they're not visible, like B&M Park, a lot of the parks are kind of out of a line of sight. So we just want folks to know, whether they're here as guests or relatively new members of the community, that we have these resources. We are having a Arts in the Park contest, basically for the month of October, starting, I think it started tomorrow, today, the next 24th, anyway. So we're just encouraging folks to go out, take a photo, do any kind of art in a park and submit it to a contest, and we're getting some pretty nice prizes for that. There'll be adult and youth prizes for the best entries.
So you can all apply to.
That's right. In fact, I saw a photo you did today on the Conservation Commission site. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
We have found an individual who has a grant to share her expertise with developing our parks. She's, yeah, okay, accessible parks. She's working with the state of New Hampshire and Vermont. We had a very nice Zoom call with her as a board, and she will be coming to have a face-to-face meeting with us. So we're trying to get more information about things that we can do relatively quickly in 1 or 2 locations in the parks, and she will be here to interview folks, whatever kind of, we haven't determined exactly what that event will look like, but she will help us gather more information and really kind of nail down some concrete plans. The stake right here, I want to see something in the ground by next spring, even if it's one or two small things, additions to enhance some of the parks in Alton. So we're building on what we've learned, and we are continuing to work on fundraising efforts at large and small scale. So basically, that's it.
I forgot about the note, about how much we've been working.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Carol's my co-chair, and really helps keep me on track sometimes.
The
think-
fundraising,
So we are
advocate.
officially recognized as a charitable entity with the state of New Hampshire. We are hoping that the IRS will get the approval to us sometime before the end of the year. It's taking about, what, 200 days to get that approval or
about
so.
that 191 I sent out an
Yeah.
email to 16.
So we're in the process. We have no idea when we will become official, but we're looking forward to being.
So we've
Completely
completed all the
qualified.
steps that we need to become a charitable, tax exempt organization. It's time.
Your report and findings was very good.
Oh,
It's
thank
very
you.
well put together,
Thank you.
very detailed, very understandable in what you're trying to achieve and for the town. I think you've done a marvelous job with it.
Well, I think.
Yeah.
As a stepping stone to bigger and better things.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. And I have to, so Carol has a professional fundraising background, and you can see that in that report. 'Cause
Impressive.
Yeah,
That's
it's-
very
it's good.
impressive.
Very, very well put together, and the questionnaires and the graphs
Yeah,
and everything that you have in there is showing what the people were looking at and what their opinions were.
And essentially, this was to look at the ability, capability of folks in town and indications, just a roadmap to what the potential for fundraising would be. So we did have other questions in there that helped give us some other things, but this was really to give us an idea, you know, could we start a project right now? Could we start fundraising? Obviously, without having a tax exempt designation, it's not as a strong indicator maybe for folks that could have, you know, significant support. But, you know, there's some more work to do, and this is just one part of that process that you would typically do
In
for
your report.
organizations.
Did you feel as though that there was more people that were interested in having a playground area outside of Jones Field? Or did you feel as though, it looked to me like there was some concern of location?
there are scattered concerns, and then there are like overarching concerns. Parking, comes up in access and point of vision. And so I continually find that Alton has challenges that are geographic in nature, The roads are where they are, the
Right.
mountains, the water, it is what it is. So it's hard, there are like these niche parks. And so I think one of the things that comes up, and I see it reflected in the master plan and other things, are that kind of the walkable, they want connection in the communities.
Walkable
And there's
trails.
actually multiple established trails, from the central school down, Letteres Road to Jones Field, or to the ice skating, or I don't know, the pickleball part. I keep forgetting, in my mind, it's just the pickleball part. But so that we have these small parks, and then we have Jones Field where we have the playing fields, and it would be wonderful if we could expand that in some way so they could do tournaments. But again, we're constrained by geography, so I think we need to be pretty creative and talk to folks about what would work. So do we really have a toddler playground back here that's focused, and maybe someday has a changing room?
Yeah. Nobody brought up anything specific
Right.
to that, but it was in that one chart in there where we did ask, what playgrounds do you attend? It was between Jones Field and the
Central
school.
School.
and Central
School, yeah. That's what I saw.
And even though others had indicated, I think, for B&M and maybe Liberty Tree, nobody made specific comments or suggestions about anything. It was just good information to have and the project started off because it was the Jones Field emphasis.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things, I guess maybe it's not super clear on the report, is like collaborating with the school systems, collaborating with other partners, whether it's a Alton Youth League or whoever, you know, we won't be moving ahead, you know, in conflict, we'll be coordinating.
And the responses that people gave is, you know, really kind of telling us that's the approach that we probably would take, and I think anybody else would take, is to collaborate. I mean, it's the only way to get things accomplished.
Right.
Rather than working in silos.
Oh, very good, very well put together.
A couple of things that struck me. The polling represented roughly 0.5% of the voters in town. Very small tidbit, which we know is tough to get any votes in this town. So hopefully it was all interested parties that participated in that. I read $300,000 a number of times throughout the report. I still don't know what that 300,000 is intended to be used for specifically.
That would be, the idea was to build a fabulous playground at Jones Field. We had discussions as we were going through this, you know, what point, you know, what is the price point that we want to test? Some suggested 200, 250, and, you know, somebody said, let's try 300. So that's how that was selected. So
So-
that gift table, is not set in stone. It was just a roadmap for us to test the waters.
Right.
And obviously, as we continue to work together and have our meetings, that can be changed. Obviously, I think that probably should be changed.
Right.
But we have other, you know, we can sit down and take that and play with the numbers, depending on what other information we get from any of our community outreach activities.
And then the last point that I wanted to bring up was, I think there is a long-term plan within this town that whole DPW area will eventually, hopefully, become more of a recreational area as DPW is booted out and moved up to the top of the hill. Which opens up all sorts of opportunities for parking and other activities. And has any of that, have you looked at that globally as a potential? for
I would hope,
incorporating?
these are the things I lie in bed and think about at night. Like, I would hope that there would be a really well thought out discussion if we are, you know, and I think we very much need that new Department of Public Works place. So I think what is done with that area, and I don't know if water goes, you know, I expect the fire department would be expanded in that area, but some real conversation about what happens with those properties, what happens with fire, other town-owned parcels that aren't currently being used,
Yep.
and how we maximize for all the town departments and needs the use of those properties.
I agree.
And what is the best use of a floodplain? You know,
We have this master plan.
yeah,
I think it would make sense for Parks and Recreation to have their own master plan too. Kind of their dream plan, and then figure out how you're going to phase to achieve that dream.
and we are phasing, but it's without that plan,
Mhm.
coordinating with the town, like, is this gonna become available, or, you know? I don't mind. Go ahead.
Yep, thank you. So Kelly Sullivan, I am on the Friends of Board. So when we started this undertaking, we had no idea that there were plans for a DPW facility. And even up until, I don't think Parks and Rec was informed until it was discussed in a public meeting. And then somebody from the public informed the Parks and Rec director that we could possibly have fields up off of Hidden Spring Farm, Spring Road. So we obviously took this on and we started our proceeding, which was obviously very in-depth, and we did a lot. But without having that, again, that collaboration, we did not know, so we just continued on. Obviously, it was very in-depth what we did. We've been doing this for quite some time, so we just continued on. We have discussed within our group about laying some foundation, like a master plan of next steps, what we'd like to do going forward, but it is hard to do without having all of the information. So we hear possible DPW facility, possible fields up here, possible fields down there. So without all of that knowledge, it's hard to kind of plan accordingly. speaking,
agree.
and I know everybody has spoke to the price point. In the beginning, it was brought up to us, maybe at Jones Field, but within our group, once we got a solid board together and we started talking amongst ourselves, 2-year default budget, all these other things, we can't ask people, even in donation, to come up with those kind of funds. That's just not right. So we know that that's not there. That's why Jill said we'd like to do something on the smaller level. We're here, we're raising funds for Parks and Rec, not through taxation. We'd like to start small, but we're trying to show that we are being diligent in how we operate and the way we go about things. The amount of people we reached, this was because it was more from a fundraising perspective. I think that's why the numbers you saw were lower. We have really taken in a lot of the information from the community profile back in 2018 and the master plan. We do talk to a lot of people at large when we're out in the community, so we have spoken to a number of people. And again, we're just kind of working within ourselves, trying to get this done. So without a little bit more collaboration, this is kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and that's, I guess that was the point I wanted to make, was that I don't want you operating in a bubble.
Right.
You really do need to know what some of the other thoughts are.
Exactly.
And if I could also add, both Kelly and I sit on the Parks and Rec Commission. If I understood you correctly, Drew, that you were talking about a master plan for Parks and Rec that would be developed like the town master plan?
Suggestion was, and I was using master plan as kind of an
Okay,
air quoted
example.
term,
Gotcha.
but you kind of come up with your, perfect scenario, what the end result could potentially be, maybe 10 years down the road. And then you figure out the steps that would have to take place to reach that goal and do your fundraising or your coordinating in town accordingly.
Yeah, in my experience, sometimes capital campaigns just don't work in organizations, a full campaign. So they can be broken down into smaller
Exactly.
projects.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
there's a timeline, then that would be very different and adjusted for those types of activities.
But if people have an idea that you have a grand plan, but all you're doing right now is this, something that you can swallow,
All steps.
Right.
and
Phase development, I mean, yeah.
I think that's part of what we're trying
To
to do.
coordinate with the
The
town.
outreach
And
activities,
it's a
is
good
to
point.
get that extra information.
And we have
Good
also
ideas.
had multiple activities already. You might have seen our table at Market on Main or Harvest Happenings. We have been trying to gather and surveying and having foam core, with pictures for kids of like, rate what you want. So we are gathering that. And another source of information we have is the Parks and Rec are on the community page facing. So we have the comments and we know what folks are interested in and hoping for. So we are trying to speak to the residents.
a
as
lot
much
of
as we can.
opinions to herd.
Yes.
There's,
You have to,
there's,
yeah.
you got,
Definitely.
And the
Just-
reason why it took this direction, at the time when we were at a committee meeting, a Parks and Rec committee meeting, just with my experience, I was looking at the budget that they had and putting together grants and applications. It looked like there were some pieces that maybe were missing. So that's kind of where, it took a little bit of a different direction. Let's look at the bigger picture before we go out and ask somebody to fund or support a project, rather than find out later on, oh, we forgot this, or we forgot that, and then you're going back and forth, and it doesn't look good if you're trying to create your organization to be trustworthy and transparent to the community. So we kind of a two-track. It's the fundraising, and we're still doing some development of our formation of our 501c3.
Great.
Very good.
Any other questions?
just, if I may clarify a couple of things, just to be clear. We went out and entered into a contract 3 years ago. The idea of collaboration is wonderful and the discussion is wonderful, but everybody saw in one meeting how the entire concept disappeared. After 3 years, that's the problem, is that there's so much planning, the boards change, the people involved change, and that's becoming very difficult, because we had one direction, then it went left, then it went right, then it turned back around, and we about faced. So now we're kind of back at square one, but this idea of the DPW building in Hidden Springs, we need to start thinking that's a 5 to 10 year plan. By the time we get I don't know what your ambitions are, but I would assume the playground is more a year or two? I mean, you said you were hoping to put something in the ground, so I'm just saying that whatever's going on with that it keeps changing directions. There's no solid direction, funding, or anything.
So in the meantime, some concrete enhancements to the existing parks and working on the connections with the trails is like, we can improve what we have now and make it more
Exactly.
livable and, you know.
Without
I was
having to
gonna
cut
say that,
down
'cause we
on
have
it.
Jones Field there, they've been,
Well, right,
worked on, it's
they
been
did-
there.
Right,
It's
it
been,
looks better every year. Yeah.
it's been a project for years, been a great project. A lot of people have have volunteered and spent time through for the last 20 years and working on Jones Field, so.
So,
Adding to it or doing something to improve is always a good idea.
no, I think, yeah, I think that's where we are. And I think that's what, you know, we'll be doing. And yes, I think we are aware that just the DPW alone would be, you know, 5 year, and we will, you know, and we're behind you. You know, we want to see that and it's not just for the space.
And as a Friends of group, we are here to support the town and Parks and Rec, and especially Kelly, who reports to Ryan and their conversations, so it kind of feeds to us. Kelly sits in at on our board meetings, so, you know, we try to make sure that we have open communication about what's going on.
But, yeah, and let me just say, like, I appreciate all the volunteer support we've got, even for Ginny Douglas and the other little projects in town. It's great to rely on this community. They do
That came
come out
out
and
very
stand up.
well. That came
And
out
stand.
Yep, came out nice.
Yeah, thank you. All right, any other questions, comments?
No,
Thank you very much.
thank you for your time.
Right. So it's just gonna be, we gotta discuss the weight limit for Rand Hill Road detour.
This was put on because, it was brought up to members of the board out in the public, that there was concern about the detour on the Rand Hill and whether or not a weight limit should be established, for that. I did, based on those conversations, reach out to Seth. Seth, you can come on up for that discussion. I had him research it. We did have a discussion. So certainly, just to put a couple of things out there for the board to consider, and then you folks can tell me how you want to proceed. So in our conversations, Seth and I, a couple of key points. One, obviously, the Board of Selectmen has the authority to set a temporary weight limit on any town road. So that's clear as far as that authority goes. One point is that Rand Hill Road is not being advertised. It's not the primary detour. The state cannot detour traffic primarily onto a town road. They had opened that up as a secondary route, for local traffic and local traffic only. Their main detour being advertised is Route 140. The other thing is, just understand that if we do set a temporary weight limit, there is gonna be some enforcement issues. And the enforcement issue is that road has never been posted. On a day-to-day basis, it's open to 18-wheelers, it's open to day-to-day traffic. I'm not sure how the court would view a temporary, saying that more traffic is going onto that road, so now we're going to set the weight limit. The way, just from my experience of years in court, the temporary weight limits are based on a change in, the temperature in the road base, where damage could occur. So the way that they gauge that when you testify to something like an overweight truck on a vehicle was that road designed and built to handle that? Well, if we've never established a weight limit on it, there's some question as to why that becomes, all of a sudden, why that's an issue now. So there could be. I'm saying that just as, that was also a concern that Seth had just pointed out as well. A couple things to think about. The only other big concern, more so than anything else, is just how we're gonna deal with posting that, in the sense that if a large truck is not familiar with the area, comes up on Rand Hill, with a weight limit, where are they gonna turn around?
spin it,
If
right?
they,
Not gonna be able to.
unfortunately, a lot of people will just drive through it, cause they'll be like, I'm committed now, I
Right,
have to
they're
do
gonna
it.
keep going.
But you do get those people, and we had that issue with the guy that took out the guardrail by trying to do a 3-point turn with a tractor trailer in front of the East Side restrooms.
Yep.
I think you saw,
Oh, I
you
saw-
saw
I
the
saw it.
picture broadside.
Oh, yeah, I saw the whole.
So that's the only other concern that Seth and I were talking about along the lines is what happens if you get that driver that just freezes deer in the headlight look and starts trying to maneuver a tractor trailer around a busy corner. That could get a little hinky, but.
Seth, can that road
so-
handle, it's, well, the max capacity, what is the max capacity?
I don't have anything that says exactly what the max capacity is, and I mean, it's hard to tell really, but I mean, we've had a very dry summer. Typically, as Ryan stated, when we're posting the roads in the springtime, it's just cause being is the ground's thawing, the frost's coming out, the ground's saturated. We don't have any of that right now. The road is solid as it's ever gonna be.
I think it's also a concern of, some of the residents, also the bridge,
Okay.
the overpass, the bridge right there, and I think that's been a concern with some of the people that are on Rand Hill Road. And you make out a good point that nobody's telling the large trucks to go through Rand Hill. It wasn't the intent, it was for the local residents. Is there a way that we can tell, if the state is going to post it to the point where they try to direct the larger trucks to use 140?
Yeah, so,
And to use 140. And if that's the case, if the people and the residents on Rand Hill Road understand that the intent was never to have large trucks go through
Right.
Rand Hill Road.
it isn't. And in the meetings with DOT, I cruised through the minutes of that meeting again today. Sorry. 140 is the primary detour, and it always has been.
Right.
It was basically an ask of the state to apply additional signage for Rand Hill Road as a local traffic only. There will be more signage going up at the intersection of 140 out here. Why they haven't put it up yet, I'm not sure.
Would we say alternate truck route?
Yes,
It's,
yeah,
to that effect, and making sure people know that.
Right,
And
yeah.
not to use Rand Hill Road.
yeah, the primary detour is 140.
Yeah, I
there's
thought
all-
they did.
Yeah, they were even,
Something
they
got
were even
let
talking about blocking some of the parking spaces off on the corner for those swings.
Yeah.
'Cause remember, we had that problem.
We talked about that right out here.
And that was still in the minutes, yeah. Where it's
And that was still gonna take place, but they, just trying to, some of the calls I got.
Yeah.
And they were concerned about, the weight limit on that road and saying they were concerned it was gonna be destroying a town road.
Yeah.
And then having to repair it.
I personally don't feel that it is. It
You
is
don't
a
feel
fairly short period of
And
time.
you feel
in
as though the
reality.
bridge would be okay.
Yeah, I don't have any deficiencies in that bridge that
Okay.
I'm aware of. I'm saying it can't, you know?
And the other thing is the sign that's down in the bay now, that's right in front of Downey's Landing. Is that gonna remain there, or is that gonna change? Because people are getting confused.
Yeah, that has definitely caused some
That's
confusion. And I
causing
think
confusing right
the
now.
only reason they put it there is because it's really the only spot where they have a spot big enough that they could put it feasibly. I don't know if that's gonna move. I can definitely find out. I know there is gonna be additional signage that goes up right at Busy Corner.
There
Trying
you
to
go.
restrict some traffic from going down into the bay. Not restrict traffic, but make people aware that they can't go through, as well as additional signage down on Lake Woods.
Right.
Either way you slice it, this is gonna be a very complicated mess.
Oh, yeah.
What's it, 20 days?
20
It's
days.
gonna be 20 days and it's over.
We'll be fine.
Right, yeah.
We'll get through it.
Yeah, so there's there's information on the town's website regarding the detour that brings it to the state's website, and on there doesn't mention anything of Rand Hill, Lake Woods, anything like that. It's 140 to 117.
So in your opinion, you feel we shouldn't post it? We should leave it as is?
I feel you should leave it as is.
Okay.
Honestly, yeah. Brian said it does.
And that was, I know the state can't post it,
Yeah,
and then it's a town road.
Town
I would be the one to post it.
Yeah.
And the request from some of the residents was to post it so that they at least had some sort of, town would have some sort of leg to stand on. But now after hearing what you were saying, we're probably better off
yeah.
not posting it because there was nothing saying that the 18 wheels couldn't go through before.
Right. The other roads that are posted in town with weight limits or no through trucks have another concern associated with them. It's not just because.
I know it would be a definite, enforcement issue as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a hard enough time now.
I'm not
Those
sure
that are posted.
Alton has an ordinance as far as overweight restrictions. Ryan could probably be better off to answer that, but yeah, unless you have a set fine, then you're really just going along with a $62 violation for violating a traffic enforcement device, so a stop sign, something like that.
We do have an ordinance, you know, because we utilize it when we do temporary waitlets. But again, it gets into justifying what, you know, what the reasoning is for the overweight sign. And in the spring, we have the soft road base, where now we have a road that's never been posted, all of a sudden becoming posted.
For 20
They will,
days.
yeah, they
For
will
just
take
20
that,
days.
the court will take that into consideration before they issue a fine.
Yeah, I think the key is gonna be the state having adequate signage up
Yes.
early enough to direct these tractor trailers,
Yeah.
the long way around.
Yeah,
And definitely stating the fact that, you know, truck route.
yeah.
Yeah,
Truck route, temporary truck route for.
I'm sure there are plenty of trucks that, you know, do this in their sleep, you know, it's their regular route, and they just do it automatically, and, they're gonna come into a rude surprise.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure as to why the state hasn't put up additional signage in town yet, but I do know that it is part of the plan.
And you will talk to them about that as
Absolutely.
well. And it's signed down in the bay, whether or not that's gonna stay there, or
Yep.
if they're gonna move it up, so it's not confusing.
Yep. Yep, that has caused a lot of confusion. A lot of people were under the assumption that the bridge was being closed.
Yeah, they automatically, they're thinking the bridge, oh, they're gonna start the bridge?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're an Alton resident, right now, your impression is that if I live on Rand Hill Road, the only way I can get there is to go Route 140 all the way west and back all the way around, and I think we need some kind of information on our website that assures people locally that they can get where they want to go. And the only place that Route 11 is really closed is where the work is being done.
Yeah.
But if you live there or in the area, or you're visiting your mother-in-law or whatever, you can get there without having to do a 20-mile detour.
Yeah, we've been fielding a lot of calls down at the office.
bet you
and,
have.
We've been
Sure you have.
talking to a lot of people. Yeah, it is. So it is closed right there between Lake Woods and Keowayden is where the closure's gonna be. And we've been assuring people that, you know, local traffic, people going through, you'll still be able to get there.
Right.
But we can also put up an additional post on our social media, and we can put another post on the town's website again.
I think that would be good if we could
reinforcing
do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Seth.
Okay.
Very much appreciated. TA report?
Okay. So I have some good news. So I wanna put a shout out to Senator Gray and his office. I reached out to him about the issues with the Fish and Game ramp, and I got immediate response. So not only has the executive director of Fish and Game responded at this point, Counselor Kenny showed up here personally yesterday. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to meet with him. As you can tell, I've been under the weather for a few days, so, just getting back. But I was able to, Stacy contacted me so I could, speak with him on the phone. He was with one of the commissioners, and the two of them took a field trip out to Downing's Landing yesterday, to look at the Porta-John situation and also to discuss, the issues of the ramp being closed in the winter. He said he was gonna get right back to me on that, and as well as a response from the new executive director. Apparently, there was a changing of the guard, between the executive directors at Fish and Game level. The new director did respond and said she would look into the matter immediately and get a response. But, Counselor Kenny suggested, he believed that it was necessary for the executive director to make a trip to one of our meetings and speak to the board. So some things that were thrown out just for the board to consider, before we get into any kind of conversation like that. Obviously, what the town, the concern or the compromise about winter maintenance to the ramp, if the state was gonna agree to keep it open all year long for the local residents and fishermen. And then, maybe some other options with the whole Porta Johns. I suggested one, a location on the other side of the ramp, but I also suggested that the town would probably be willing to work with them with our public restrooms being, 40 feet across the street.
that's right.
40 feet away, because I think part of the concern is our restrooms on the east side are closed during the winter. And if the ramp's open, they're gonna need to have some sort of, but I don't think they have porta johns in the winter. Don't they take them out of there?
they're
though?
gone.
I'm
No,
not
they're
sure.
gone.
But, anyways, those are just a couple of things that they were throwing out, we were talking about for
Yeah,
the board to consider, but it
Welcome
does,
to talk to them.
Yeah.
Come in.
it sounded like we're getting some real traction now. And I will say, Senator Gray's office, I reached out to him last week. I can't remember who suggested it, but somebody in passing was like, "Oh, you should reach out and see what you can do," and he jumped on it
Jumped right on.
immediately.
Good.
And I asked him, my conversation with him was to ask to bridge that communication gap between the town and the state. And he did just that, so. The only other thing I have, to report is, so on the table, I did, receive, a notice of retirement resignation from Holly Brown, our librarian. She is going to be retiring at the end of the year, to take on some new challenges maybe, or just relax. But Holly's been with us for, it will be 29 years, at the end of the year. Obviously, I've worked with her my entire career, both at the police department and both here as the TA, and, she's always a pleasure to be around and a hard worker. She's dedicated. Library director. She's very dedicated to the services that they provide to the community and passionate about it. So it will be a hard void to fill, but I wanted the board to know that she gave, notice so that she could possibly help out with maybe finding a replacement and do a nice transition.
Good.
So,
It's nice of her.
Very nice.
absolutely.
So, see her go.
That's all I got.
Okay. Selectmen reports, Mr. Carter.
Conservation Commission, let's see, we discussed, improvements to signage, for the trails and clarification on usages of the trails. We also reviewed a, application for a new over-the-water boathouse at Clay Point. Yeah.
Over the water?
Yeah. So I think we did not strongly support that, but that's the state's call. And I know that, that Gene's been working, that guy works nonstop behind the scenes. So he's been working on, new trails use policies, to hopefully get something circulated out on that, soon.
Excellent. Mr. Shea?
Yeah, the Milfoil Committee, we are planning what should be our last meeting of the year tomorrow afternoon. And we meet outside, so we will have rain tomorrow. And we will finalize our budget appeal for next year, and I think we will be able to save the town some money. And we should have the state's last report in short order in terms of any additional work we have to do this year, but I expect that's either gonna be none or very little. Beyond that, I have a selectman question that I never thought about until listening to the parks proposal. I wonder if we either have or could develop a full inventory of all town properties, so everybody knows what we have and what it's used for. Probably most people that live here a long time kind of have that in the back of their head, but for us relative newbies, we don't. And I wonder if there may be some parcels here and there that could be used for various purposes that most of the public doesn't even know we own. However, that could be a huge project. I have no idea what's involved.
I mean, as far as the town properties that we, aside from just raw land that we've taken through tax deed or whatnot, we have a master list of all that because we have to report it to, Primex for our insurance purposes. Which that would be easy enough to point out. As far as tax deeded properties, that will take a little bit of work. It's not a large amount because we've done some tax deed auctions in the not so far ago, and we've done a couple of them. So most of the properties that we've taken or had through those means have been sold at auction, and we're trying to get them back on the tax roll. So we're not trying to hang on to them. But I can certainly dig into that. Take a little bit, but we can make it happen.
Yeah,
Put somebody
I
down in the land
appreciate
use
it.
department on
And
it.
again, like I say, most people may know, I just feel like I'm in the dark on that.
No problem. We can do that. What you got, Mr. Morris?
CIPs should be wrapping up. I think our next meeting is to go over all the numbers and put stuff together, so that's it.
Paul, how about you?
The only thing I've got is just an advisory more than anything. Since the water level has been low, I was able to observe the water bandstand a lot better now that the water's about 2 feet from the surface. And there was significant damage from the ice this year. So I've taken a videoed around it, gave it to the rest of the committee members, or one of the committee members, and actually took the liberty of having someone go out to take a look at it. It may be something coming up in the future. When I say significant, it's the second row down from the top. There's two existing cribs that hold the water bandstand with the stone in the center of it. And a few years ago, we had an ice damage on the west side that did a lot of damage to the top and second row, and it pushed it up. That got repaired. This time, it hit it from north to south, and it hit both cribs on the front, but the second row down, and broke the logs underneath there, and actually dislodged one of them on one side. So if you look at the water bandstand when you're driving down 11 or 28, you'll see the corners are lifted.
What did it
That's
take
why.
to fix it?
Had a person take a quick look at it with just the video, was gonna go out with a boat, take a look at it, thinking of what it would cost to pull out the logs and replace those two there, but to take a look at that. Anyway, it's just in early stages. I
Is it
think it will
something to be done about while the water's low?
that's when you gotta do it. That's the problem, is the time is now. Now, between now and December, and while the water's down like this, you can access it real easy. So I just thought I'd bring it up, early stages yet, talking to the rest of the members and talking to the chairman of the Water Bandstand Committee, and having somebody go out there and look at it, evaluate it. I gave him my opinion, took a video, he's looked at the video, and so we'll get some idea what maybe this would cost.
When's your next committee meeting?
It'll be next month.
Maybe you should have the planes land the other way this year. Maybe bump that back up.
That's the way they do come in. They come in from the.
Plastic Andy.
You're always thinking.
Always, yeah, always right there, Andy.
I had my ZAC committee meeting, just going over, we started changing some terminology. Yeah, you'll see those in the upcoming warrant articles. The planning board, we had the 140, that, not the, well, the property, but the overall plan got approved, so I think he's going in the right direction there. There was a continuance and one more, lot line adjustment, I believe, that went through. And that's all I have right now. Any other questions, guys?
Again, I don't have a question, but I do want to thank Seth and the group and everyone from DPW. Nice job on the railings over at the community center. That all looks very nice. Good job. I went by and looked at it, and thought it looked nice.
I saw the pictures on social media, they came out, they did come out nice. All right, move on to, we have no minutes, so there's no approval of the minutes. The consent agenda approval.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda for September 23rd as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. We have no appointments and no requests for appointments this evening. I'd like to now open it up to public input 2, limited to 5 minutes per person on any government and town business.
Just want to briefly address solid waste disposal. I live on Gilman's Corner Road. I've been downsizing. I bought a house as is that had been lived in for 30 years, and I have been making multiple daily trips. I call it to the dump, for the last 6 months. And the number of vehicles that I have seen, vans, trucks with trailers, license plates from all over. I'm not even looking at dump stickers, but in my mind, there's a huge amount of free service for providing the surrounding communities, to say it nicely.
There's
I
an
mean,
abuse of that system, absolutely.
that's what I'm saying. And like, I'm not gonna name names, but I know people that, they have a weekend business of cleaning out all the people that are here for the weekend, whether it's in New Durham or you name it. And I get it. I mean, it's a service that needs to be provided to folks. There's a need for it. So I'm strongly suggesting that you look at the costs that people pay for stickers, for one thing, but also surrounding towns have a variety of different ways they approach that. I think Effingham, it's like, okay, the first 2 contractor bags per day are free. That could, a typical household could probably manage with that. But beyond that, there's a $5 fee for the equivalent of each other contractor bag. So that's just an example, but I'm sure that other towns have dealt with this, and, just a little bit of research, you can come up with something kind of consistent to deal with all of it. And whether, I think it's crazy to expect somebody, if they're in the business of picking up other people's trash, that's not going to be separated out. So maybe there is a higher fee if it's an opaque bag, I don't know, but I'm sure it's been addressed before, and
Yep.
I encourage you to just take a look, because I've really been surprised.
I see it quite a bit too, I agree.
I see it.
Thank you.
Thank you, I really appreciate it, and Seth does do a fantastic job for all the different directions he has pulled.
And there's many, there's many. Hey, Kelly.
Good afternoon, good evening, Kelly Sullivan. So I was just thinking a little bit after the last meeting of what it was. But at the last meeting, there was a lot going on, so just a lot of thinking after the fact, right? And the chief was in here about the K-9 vehicle, so there was a lot of discussion about that. And we discussed the SRO vehicles and how all the vehicles are used, and we could, maybe put something, transfer the equipment or things like that. And those SRO vehicles sit primarily all day, and they are available for if they're needed to be on call, which is absolutely understandable. But I noticed that the SRO vehicles generally are a newer vehicle that they're running up there. Maybe it would be beneficial to swap from the older vehicle to one of the newer SRO vehicles. That's not the chief's, or just something thinking outside of the box for future reference. And then a little bit of a red flag for me when I hear the service from the government that you can get vehicles. So we had Humvee a few years ago. It was it was given to the town. And now we have a line item for that Humvee that, had used its life. And now we have a pickup truck in that line item for that Humvee that we didn't have before. So I just want to make sure that when it does come around, that, we don't end up with an extra line item in the end if we're getting it for this.
An extra, taking the whatever vehicle, I understand what you mean now, not carry it over to buy a brand new vehicle.
Yes.
I understand.
Yes.
I understand.
And I do understand that sometimes, and I fully see it, like at the last meeting, stuff happens and you don't even have time to think sometimes, you have to react and give, so I can appreciate that, but that's why I would so I'm always better thinking about it after the fact, right? I think I probably showed that just sitting here, right? But that was just some of the thoughts from the last meeting, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Anybody else? Seeing none, I'm gonna close public input. We have no non-public this evening?
No, sir.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
One second.
He was on it. Do you want to second it then? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think I got it. Motion popular.